Hey everybody, this is Yoga with Forrest. Today's class is a fun sequence that is meant for all levels and also to get the body moving all sorts of different ways. For props, highly recommend you kind of mimicking my setup right here. I have a strap which could be used or substituted with a belt or something like that. 2 blocks, books or something, a blanket, probably find that somewhere. Bolster, could substitute with a pillow, and also a chair. All these things might come in handy. You know you in your practice, so let's go ahead and get situated on the mat when you're ready. We're gonna go ahead and start off in a reclined back extension. And so you might wanna use a block or something, maybe a blanket or bolster, pillow, whatever you got, to lay underneath our sacrum. So our sacrum is that bony part right here underneath our lumbar spine and kind of in between our tailbone and our lumbar spine. Not kind of, it is. So what we're going to do now is make our way onto your back. And then we'll press the heels up, and this will be our starting position into a supported bridge pose. You can let the hips come up as high as you want to. I'm gonna set my block on the highest setting, but as you can see, I've adjusted accordingly to how my body feels this morning. Highly recommend you to do the same and just allow yourself to rest in the space you've just created for yourself. Maybe start to let the eyelids close. The beginning of a yoga practice is always a great time to tidy up. I think it's like the equivalent to when you're having somebody come over, you kind of want, to have the best of the best, present them, with a nice, tidy, clean space. And I think that's kind of comparable, or we can do that in our yoga practice. We can tidy up our minds to get focused and set ourselves up for a nice and clean practice, inviting ourselves to an inviting space, essentially. That makes it a little bit easier to dial in, focus on the present moment, focusing on the breath, your thoughts, and your body. And that's the major components of a yoga practice. Throughout this sequence, I just encourage you to keep your mind present, work on that skill in and of itself. It can be a pretty difficult one, especially as times, ebb and flow through stressful and non-stressful. Our minds can, take a toll and not necessarily be as optimized as we want them to be. Working it out through our yoga practice can help kind of iron out those wrinkles. We're going to be here for a couple more moments. So allow the belly to rise and fall with the breath. We'll go ahead and press into the heels, lift your hips up, and slowly lower down the length of your spine onto the mat. Today's sequence, as mentioned earlier, will involve the full body. We're going to do a lot of spinal movement today. So, spoiler alert. All right, from here, with our tailbone on the floor, start to bring your knees out, or rather feet to the outer edges of the mat. And let your knees fall left to right. So gentle rocking motions. Watch out for props side to side. And watch out for props. Nice thing about practicing, at home or somewhere else, you don't necessarily have to watch out for neighbors. And also, you don't have to worry about your neighbor's hygiene or yourself, which is kind of nice, right? All right, so next time the knees come up back to the center, and we'll go ahead and bring the feet together. Scoot your hips a few inches off to the right side, and then let your knees fall off to the left. Now, reach your left arm as far over to the left as you can, and we're gonna bring the right hand come on top of our hover over the left hand. Actually, I'm gonna do this the other way, so you can have a little bit more of a clear view here. So knees are stacking. Remember, reach that arm out really far so you can kind of lay on the back of the shoulder blade. Left arm will hover over the right arm. It doesn't matter which side you're doing because we're going to do both. We're going to do 5 big circles here, either side. So rest your head either on a pillow blanket or something. And we're going to start to rotate our shoulder here. Start by bringing the bicep by the ear. And you can kind of skim the ground with the hand or the fingers if you have that range of motion. And then bring that arm full circle here. We're opening up a little bit through the spine, of course, too. And then let your wrist sweep by your hip. That's 1. 5 in each direction. 2. 3. 4. And as you're following along, the shoulders are complicated, so you might notice a sticky area, and feel free to stay in that area as long as you want to. You don't have to keep on going with the full pace of the class. And we'll call that 5. So go ahead and start to move the arm in the opposite way, palm facing down, wrist swiping the hip. You can start to open up that hand as you rotate and coming towards full circle here. Bicep by the ear for 1. 2. 3. 4, and last one. We're actually going to take this past the starting point, or rather pause at the starting point. We'll go ahead and reach that left arm up towards the ceiling or your top arm, and go ahead and open up into a full twist. Arms in line with one another, just allowing your left or shoulder, whichever arm you're working with, shoulder to melt towards the floor. It doesn't have to touch. That's not a necessity in this posture. That's the direction that shoulder's going. Keep your arms the way they are, and go ahead and start to open up the knees. And bring the soles of the feet together, knees both out wide. You can adjust your hips a little bit. We'll take a moment here, just like an open book. And then we'll go ahead and bring that right knee up, opposite knee to stack over. And reach that left arm out, and we'll go ahead and come into the other side here, shoulder rotations. Yeah, so remember to be on that shoulder blade, on that bottom arm. Top arm hovers a few inches above. And we'll go ahead and initiate the rotation, resting the head, bicep by the ear, open up. 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. And go ahead and bring your arm into that opposite direction, wrist swiping by the hip. You can open up the palm as you become, or bring this full circle. Palm will face down again as you swipe hand over hand, arm over arm. That's 1. 2. You might notice one shoulder feels way different than the other. I know my right shoulder, I can feel a lot more stickiness, and it's a lot more turbulent as I take it through the range of motion. I think this is 4. Still forever working on that skill of talking and keeping track of reps. Bring this around for the 5th one. And reach that right arm up or your top arm up. Go ahead and open up the shoulders into your twist. This can be wherever it's comfortable. If you want to look to the left, if that's easier for your neck, go ahead. And then if you want to look over towards the right side, towards the twisting direction, you might be able to do that too in your neck. Always keeping in mind that general rule of thumb though, you should feel better after coming out of your stretching and postures. If you do feel worse, that's a key indicator. You might need to change something. Let's open up both the knees, soles of the feet together wide, or soles of the feet together, knees out wide. Just relaxing here for a breath. And let's start to bring the knees up towards each other. And pull the knees into the chest. We're gonna add some movement here. So gentle movement, rocking side to side if that feels good to you. Maybe you can start to add some forward rocking here. That's what I'm gonna do to help massage out those spinal muscles. We're gonna make your way up to a seated position just for a moment. Simple cross-legged spot. I'm gonna work into our spine here with an upright torso. You can start with your hands neutral on the knees. We're gonna inhale, reach both arms up. Exhale, take a twist to the right side. Left hand comes to the right knee. Opposite hand behind you. With these twists, find lift on your inhale, and then maybe a deeper twist on your exhale. That's the general direction these twists go. Inhale to reach both arms up. Just keep that in mind throughout the practice. Exhale, take your twist, as we won't be holding these for too much time. Basically breath. Inhale back to the center, arms sweep up. Exhale, take a twist, one more each side. Inhale to find lift. Exhale, take a twist. Inhale, back to the center, both arms reach. Exhale, let your hands come down by your sides. All right, so I'm gonna say or encourage you to grab a strap of some sort, belts, anything. And we're gonna work into our shoulders for a moment. Some internal rotation. And so how we're gonna do this is you can be seated, you can be standing, you can be sitting on the shins. There's other variations. You can work in dual postures or adding postures to this to make it a very complex thing, but we're just gonna focus on the shoulders here. And we're gonna take our strap into our top hand. Let's go ahead and reach the right arm out to the side and then spin the palm, the face back, and then nestle that back of the hand up into those shoulder blades here. And I'll show you what that looks like. And it could be anywhere between here and then some for you, just depending on your range of motion in your shoulder. If you want to, you can twist a little bit to the right side to help get that hand up a little bit more. But for our top arm, this is where the strap comes in handy. We're gonna find a bind, whether it be fingertip to fingertip, like so. Would have been very convenient for me to demo that while I was there. But you can also use the strap to find that bind. And we won't explain or spend too much time on the other side here, but now we have the general explanation down. Let's go ahead and get into this posture. So whether you're finding fingertip to fingertip or strap is your bind mechanism, start to draw the ribs in towards the belly here. Notice if your ribs want to flare up, very common thing. Let's start to draw the ribs in and keep your chin neutral. Finding some lift essentially in that neck. If this is easy for you and you want more, you can start to round the spine, pushing your back into the hand and rounding into flexion adds more of a stretch into that internal rotation of the shoulder. Let's go ahead and start to lift up slowly, release your hands. And as that one can be pretty intense, we'll start to add a little counter pose. I always call these the what's up bros. What's up, bro? What's up, bro? It's a very effective way to say what's up to your bros. And then also very effective to roll out those shoulders after an internal rotation stretch. All right, let's go ahead and get to the other side. Left hand reaches out, palm faces behind you. Nestle that hand up into those shoulder blades. And we'll go ahead and reach the top arm up. And maybe you find that fingertip bind or straps. Again, notice maybe a difference in the sides. Just all part of the practice and all part of the observation will observational aspect of yoga. You get to learn a lot about yourself through these asymmetrical postures, like what's bound, what's not, what's tighter, what's freer. It exposes those strengths and weaknesses, which are both really important to be aware of. And make your way back up to that neutral spine. We'll do those rotations with the shoulders. Good. And now make your way back onto your seat if you have gone elsewhere, as we're gonna do a little bit of core. So we'll call this boat pose. This is boat pose in the yoga practice. So we'll start with the knees bent, heels on the floor. We'll go ahead and lift the toes, engage the top of the shins, that tibialis anterior, that muscle right there helps draw the toes up. And we'll start to tiptoe those heels back and maybe find a tipping point to where those heels want to hover as you keep your spine pretty straight here. Notice if you want to dip a little bit, do your best to keep lifting up through the chest, drawing your belly in towards your spine. You can start to maybe let go of those hands and maybe start to find some lift in those legs, bring those shins parallel to the floor. Very difficult posture for those hip flexors and quads, as well as the core here. Just 10 more seconds. Last 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring those feet back down to the floor. We're gonna do that one more time. We'll go ahead and get ourselves ready. Pull the toes up towards the shins. And then, oh, hey, buddy. Hey, what's up, buddy? And a special guest, Azkaban, right here. He really loves yoga. So, might have to make do with Azzy downstairs. So, back into that bow pose again. I think he's going to make it rather difficult. But we'll see. We'll make do. Lift those feet up. Let those shins hover. And then maybe release those hands. We're going to hold this for 15 now. Maybe your dog gives you an extra motivational foot lick like he just gave me. Last 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and cross those shins. Make your way onto tabletop posture. All right. So tabletop posture. What's up, buddy? Yeah, good downward facing dog. See that? Check out that form. Taught by yours truly. No, I'm just kidding. He came with that natural default setting. All right, so with those shoulders over the wrists, hips over the knees, we'll inhale, head and chest lift. And round the spine as you exhale, chin to the chest, into those cats. Inhale into your cow. Exhale around the spine into the cat. 2 more. Inhale to lift. Exhale to round. Inhale to lift. Exhale to round. And we're going to add some twisting here into these flexion and extension motions. So go ahead and ground through that left hand. We're going to open up. You're just bringing everything over here, huh, buddy? You're going to reach the right arm up. And then exhale, reach that right hand over towards the left ribs. Maybe lightly touch those ribs. 5 of those. Inhale to reach your right arm up. Exhale, right hand to the ribs for 2. Inhale to reach. Exhale, hand to the ribs for 4. Inhale, reach. Exhale, draw it in. Light touch with those hands. Both hands on the floor. Inhale, head and chest lift. Exhale, round the spine. One more cat and cow. Inhale, head and chest lift. Exhale, round the spine. We'll come to tabletop posture. Get into those twists on the left arm. Inhale, reach that left arm up. Exhale, left hand to the right ribs. For 1, inhale to reach. Exhale, hand to the ribs. I see our special guest, as he has left us. I think there was a motivation for treats or food in another room. 3. I'm not sure. I mean, this is pretty fun. I don't know why you'd want to leave. I guess I don't have treats, that's why. 4, one more. And 5. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and bring both feet up to stand. So you can, if you want to, if you have downward facing dog in your practice, you can come up to downward facing dog and then come to stand all the way at the top of the mat. So I'm gonna go ahead and move these dog props that have been brought into the camera frame. And we'll meet at the top of the mat. Okay. So here at the top of the mat, we're gonna work into something called good mornings in the fitness world, but they transfer really well into the yoga world. They're a great way to wake up, strengthen, and stretch out those hamstrings. So you're gonna interlace your hands behind the head, slight bend in those knees, and you wanna keep your spine straight throughout these. So you can add a little pressure, your hands into your head into your hands, just like an equal amount. So there's some resistance there, so some more activation. Start to draw your belly in towards your spine, and you're just gonna come down towards about halfway. You wanna stop right before your spine wants to round. So depending on those hamstrings greatly for this range of motion. I'll call that 1, exhale, come down. You can come all the way down towards parallel to the floor if you want. Inhale to lift for 2. Doing 5, exhale, hips go back, leaning forward. 3. 4. And 5, as we come back to stand. I invite you to grab something to cushion your knee because we're gonna come into a lunge. You may or may not need that, depending on your knee. I like to, because sometimes it gets in the way, that pain, that annoying sensation. All right, so from this lunge, we're going to work into some twisting and spinal extension. So first we'll set this lunge up, right knee over the left ankle. Now, depending on your hip flexibility in your left side, you can be anywhere between stacking that left hip over the left knee or anywhere to shifting those hips more forward. I'm going to find kind of like a happy medium, so I'm not overstretching or getting too hard into my left side, but rather finding a good balance between stretch and my ease here. We're gonna interlace our hands behind the head. We're gonna do 5 reps of exhaling, twisting, and then inhaling back to the center and lifting the head and chest up. Looking up maybe. Exhale, come back to the center and twist. Inhale back to the center and lift up. Exhale for twist. Inhale back to the center, lift up through the chest. Exhale back to the center and twist. Inhale to the center and lift. Exhale back to the center and twist. Inhale, find that back extension. Exhale back to the center. We're gonna bring our hands heart center, and you're either going to take elbow to the outside of the thigh or just both hands to the outside of the thigh. It depends on how much rotation you wanna experience in this posture. So you can bring that opposite, or tricep to the outside of the thigh. Press the hands together in prayer, stacking those elbows. You can always look up past that right shoulder, right elbow. If you want to, we're gonna hold this for another like 30 seconds. Since this is all levels, if you wanna go ahead and tuck those left toes, lift your left knee up for a little bit more strengthening, feel free to do that. No matter where you're at, be nice and easy through the breath. If you had that back knee lifted, go ahead and lower that knee down. And we're going to take this into a back bend. So if you want to, you can come back to that hands behind the head variation. Or another alternative is letting your arms rest down by your side. So either way, just finding lift through the spine. Engage that left glute to help drive the hips forward. And that's the reason we're taking this lunge into spinal extension is to help open up the left hip flexor more. And you can also find a nice back bend. But keep lifting up through the chest. Interlacing those hands might be an option too. Of course, I'll give you that option to lift the back knee too, if you want to find that strengthening aspect. Just about 15 seconds left on this one. Good. We're going to bring that back knee down. Untuck the toes. If you need to shake out that leg a little bit on the right side, go ahead. Next, we're going to find a quad stretch into our left leg. And so you definitely might need to prop this one up because this can be rather difficult. You definitely might, right? So we're going to take a strap up our left foot and make our way into this variation of a quad stretch. You can either bring arms overhead once that foot is hooked, or you may not even need a strap for this variation. You can grab the top of the foot or ankle. We're going to hold here. And if you want to, you can find a back bend, driving the hips forward or not. You might be able to work into some extension here, squeezing the glutes, maybe rounding the spine a little bit there. And without slingshotting that foot to the floor, release it. And we'll go ahead and step the left foot up to meet the right foot. Stand. And then once we're at the top of our mat, we're going to find ourselves into those good mornings for another set of 5 reps. Interlace your hands behind the head, slight bend in those knees, and we'll exhale. Push the hips back, come forward. Inhale for 1. Exhale, lower. Really squeeze through those glutes as you rise. Press through those heels for 2. Exhale, lower. Inhale, rise. 2 more. Exhale, bring it down. Maybe you're finding some more depth on these. If not, no worries. That's just something that might happen throughout this posture, or throughout this practice. Exhale, inhale, lift. We're going to bring the right foot back. Right knee to the floor, into our lunge posture. Set yourself up for that nice balanced lunge. Interlace your hands behind the head. Take a breath in. And then we'll start on the exhale, take a twist. Exhaling, twist, back elbow towards the back, front, or right elbow towards the front. Inhale to come back to center, lift up into that back bend. Exhale, center, and twist. Inhale into back bend. And exhale for twist. Inhale, bring it back. And exhale to twist. We'll call this 4. Inhale back to the center and lift. One more there. Exhale and twist. Inhale, bring it back and lift. Exhale back to the center. Hands to heart center if you want to find that deeper twist by hooking the tricep to the outside of the thigh. Hands at prayer if you want. Then we'll go ahead and point through those elbows as they stack, and maybe look up through that elbow, that left elbow. Again, 30 seconds here. Already about 5 seconds in. If you want to find that strengthening posture, go ahead. And we'll slowly start to lower that knee to the floor. Come back to the center. We'll find that back bend variation. Ooh, gotta find that balance. All right, so again, pushing the hips forward and down is the direction we're going with our body. Hands can come by your side or hands behind the head. Up to you. Interlacing of those hands are an option as well. Of course, you can lift that back knee. And slowly lower that right knee to the floor. Undo that bind, shake out that left leg a little bit if it was feeling it from that isometric hold. Either going to strap up that back foot or grab it with the hands and come overhead or reach behind you, whatever works for you. And go ahead and grab that foot or ankle. Find your bind. And make your way into your posture. All right, here comes that part. It's up to you not to slingshot that foot to the floor, however tempting it is. Good. Once the toes touch, go ahead and step the right foot up to meet the left foot at the top of the mats for mountain pose. 5 more of those good mornings. Hands behind the head, slight bend in those knees. Exhale, start to lower yourself down. And lift. And lower. Inhale to rise. Exhale to lower for 3. Inhale up. Exhale for 4. Inhale up. Exhale. We're going to hold here halfway. Hold. Slight bend in those knees. Draw your belly in towards your spine. Last 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Come to rise. Keep your feet pretty wide. We're going to come into a squat, and it's really up to you how deep you go. I'm going to take this into a full malasana, full squat variation. Sometimes it's nice to have your heels on top of something, whether it's your mat. Your mat could be enough. A little book, magazine, or something like that. Blanket works great too. We're going to start to bend those knees, drive your knees out. Just take a moment getting into your deep squat. We haven't done too much as far as squat prep, during this class. So if it feels a little stiff, don't be surprised. You can start to settle into your squat. If you have this depth, you can bring your elbows to the inside of the knees, hands at heart center, finding length in your spine. Keep holding that squat. A couple more breaths here. We're going to bring the hands to the floor and step your left foot back. Make sure your hands are in the inside of your right foot. We've just been about, a couple minutes here in this lizard lunge. And so there's so many things we can do here. But right now, let's go ahead and stay in this kind of rounded spine with our spine gravitating more towards flexion. With this, you can start to walk the hands forward, round it a little bit more. If it feels nice, you can start to bring your forearms to the floor. But for right now, I think I'm just going to keep my elbows lifted, finding movement of my chest towards the floor. And if you can, keep your knee more towards the shoulder here for the sake of this one. And just start to explore your posture. This one you can move around in lots. If you want to adjust the hips, wiggle it out, kind of twist, turn, flip around, do your thing. Some nice things you can tap into here in this lizard. I've got a hanging hair. This hair does not want to let go. It just let go. Great example of what you should do in yoga sometimes, right? Letting go is a fantastic part of the process and practice and life. All right, a couple more breaths here, and then we'll add a little bit onto this. So you can stay here, absolutely. So we've been here for about a minute. If you want to, you can get into those quads again in hip flexor. I like to come onto the outer edge of my right foot and then sink my hips down and reach my arm back for that foot. You can use your strap if you have that handy, most likely do. And you can also bring the forearm to the floor for this one, or do whatever works. You can pull that foot to the glutes or press the foot into the hand. That's really your practice and your posture. Just throwing out those ideas for you. Now, just like with those other binds, as we're getting ready to get out of this lizard, release that foot without slingshotting it if you're bound up. We're gonna bring both hands to the inside of the right foot. You're gonna step up into your deep squat again. Left foot comes to the outside, and you might be here, maybe deep down there. Couple breaths. Hands to the floor. Right foot steps back. Right knee comes down. Start to walk those hands forward into your lizard variation. And remember, keeping a little grounding in that spine to begin. Forearms are possible to come to the floor. It's your posture. Do what you want. Just roughly about 2 minutes in this whole entire lizard. Both variations. You can start to make your way towards that second variation. So maybe it's coming onto the outer edge of that foot. You can also spend time in a twist like this. This is an excellent way to stretch out that hip flexor on that extended leg. But I like to take that a little bit further into this twist. Again, forearm can come to the floor if that's accessible. Start to release that back foot as it's bound. And again, slowly to the floor. Bring both hands to the inside of the foot. We're going to step up, right foot into that deep squat. Your hips might be feeling a little bit better now as we've spent a little time warming up to them, not too much specifically besides that lizard in regard to squat prep. So we're still kind of taking it slow into this squat. Press through those legs. We're going to make our way up to stand. Let's go ahead and make it a long, joyful 10-second journey. Reach your arms forward. Let's go ahead and lift for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. Let your hands come down. We're going to find ourselves into a wide stance here. Left toes pointing forward. So from this mountain pose, left toe stay pointing forward. Right foot steps back. We're gonna find triangle pose. So either grab a chair, grab a block, or no props at all. But we're gonna take this into a hamstring strengthener and also quad strengthener. It's a nice posture. And also, it's a really good posture for core and legs all together. But a slight knee bend is necessary in that front leg so we can properly stretch out those hamstrings and engage them correctly. You're gonna place the block on the inside of the foot or the outside. And I'll go ahead and place the chair right here to show you what you can work with in regard to a chair. And then you're going to reach that right arm towards the ceiling here. Ideally, you kind of want your hands or shoulders in line with one another. Just depends on what prop you're working with. We're going to be here for about 1 minute. So I encourage you to just explore this posture if this is the first time you've gotten into triangle. A few keys here, a few cues is you want to have as much length from the hips through your shoulders. So if you find yourself rounding and dumping into that left side a little bit, find some length. And at the same time, keep pressing into that left foot with a subtle knee bend. And that invites those hamstrings to be pretty engaged in a safe way. Press into that front foot. You might want to bend into that knee a little bit more as you do so. And we're going to lift our torso up. We're going to use our props here to guide us into a side lunge. So your back foot is going to point out at like a 45-degree angle, like that. And then you're going to start to bend into your right knee. We're going to find a side squat. So you might be up like this, all the way perhaps down into this proper skandasana, like so. You can reach the arms forward, maybe the hands at heart center. Ideally, you don't want your weight to be collapsing in on that foot, but rather driving into the outer edge of the foot. So if you feel that happening, collapsing in, readjust or use props to help you out. This can be a nice stretch, but also a great way to strengthen. Start to press into that foot and we'll come to stand. Assist yourself as much as you need to. Both toes pointing forward. We'll take the hands to the hips and one inhale to find some lift. And an exhale to push those hips back and find a wide leg forward fold. Use the chair, use the block or not. Next breath in, come to a flat spine. Hand to a prop if you need it. We're going to open up the shoulders towards the right side, right arm towards the ceiling. Exhale. As you bring the right hand, replace the left, so open up. Left hand to the floor. Then bring your hands to your hips with that straight spine, slight bend in those knees, come to rise. Point your left toes towards the back wall. We're going to find triangle posture facing the other direction here. Slight bend in that knee, just a subtle one. Press into that big toe pad of the right foot this time. And then your hips can start to shift back as you bring your hand to your prop. Remember to find length in both side waists. Stacking the shoulders, easy through the breath. And we'll start to bring ourselves up here. And remember to bend into that knee a little bit as you press into that foot to rise. And now we're going to point our back toes out at that 45-degree angle and start to shift our weight to that left side. You can use a prop to help guide you into it or not. Remember, straight spine here, weight into the outer edge of that foot, or rather, the idea, you want a pretty even distribution of weight. Something that happens is that we can collapse in. That's not the best for our ankle, not the best for our knee. Over time, it can probably, potentially cause some harm. Keep driving that knee out, and that's the best line we've discovered through, science at the moment for our knees to go, to track over the toes. Start to press into that foot. We're going to come up to that wide stance, both toes facing forward, both hands to the hips. Inhale to find a lift, and then exhale, soft knees as you come into a fold. This time we're going to walk our props or our hands, or both, over to the left side. And you can bring the block in front of those toes, hands onto the block if that works, to find a lateral bend in that right space here, right side body. If you have the flexibility, you can bring left hand behind the left heel, right hand to either grab the outside of the foot or just place in front of the toes. Either way, just breathe space into that right side, right ribs area. Walk your hands back through center, over to the right side, finding your variation here. Inhale back to the center, and we'll come all the way up to stand. Bring your hands to your hips to help you out with that. And we'll go ahead and wiggle those feet a little closer and step ourselves up onto the mat, or up to the top of the mat, really. Remove those props, get them out of your way. Then we're gonna come onto our bellies here. And so there's a few ways you could do this. If you wanna come through a toe balance, we'll go ahead and do this. I'll show the demonstration. We'll go ahead and reach the arms forward, lift the heels, and then slowly with a straight back, lower our hips all the way down to our heels. And once you're here, bring the hands to the floor. Step your feet back either through tabletop or plank, and then make your way onto the floor. And so we're gonna spend the rest of the time, this class here, kind of in this position before we take it onto our backs. So we'll find a little bit of lift here through the head and chest for Sphinx pose. We'll start to engage those glutes. You can go ahead and take your eyes forward as much as your body allows. You don't necessarily want to be looking up, but rather either completely forward or a few inches in front of those fingers. Now you can either stay here, or if you want to, you can start to bend your right knee and pull your right heel towards the glute using the hamstring. Inhale to lengthen that leg. Exhale, go ahead and draw that left heel in. Inhale to extend. Exhale. Right heel comes in. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale, left knee in. Inhale to lengthen. Good. Now we're going to keep our head and chest as lifted as possible. Here's the tricky part. Start to engage the glutes. Maybe the big toes come to touch behind you, pretty close. Lift up those feet, and then you can start to walk your hands behind you and keep your head and chest lifted. Reach those arms back. You can assist yourself any amount, but just know that strengthening these spinal muscles are really important as far as spinal health goes. So lots of effort here, even though it's not the most comfortable strengthener of all time. Slowly start to bring one cheek to the floor or your forearms. Also, if you're still hanging out, you weren't watching the screen, drop your feet to the floor too, relax. Make your way out of that posture. Okay, next, bring your hands formed back to Sphinx pose. And line your right knee up with your right hip. Ankle under the knee, and we're going to do 3 internal rotations for our hip. All that involves is pressing that knee into the floor and lifting our foot up, finding as much lift as you can throughout that joint, and lower, lightly touch the ankle bone or whatever touches. Lift for 2. Last one, lift for 3. And start to extend that right leg back. Left knee comes in line with the left hip. 3 of these internal rotations. You can also keep that back bend going too. Left foot lifts and lowers. And lifts and lowers. This internal rotation sometimes might be a little bit more unfamiliar to our bodies and movement as that external, the opposite direction. Once you've got that third one, go ahead and lengthen that left leg long behind you. And if you want a little bit of extra back bend, you can press into the hands, maybe lift up through the head and chest, or find a happy medium in between there. Now we're going to soften all the way to the floor. Come onto your back. Let's pull the right knee into the chest. Lengthen your left leg, and then we'll cross that right knee over towards the left side. Right arm can reach out to the side, and your eyes can follow whatever works, the knee or the arm. One direction does not make this posture elite or anything like that. Inhale, come back. Extend that right leg long. Left heel or left knee comes in. And we'll go ahead and cross it over towards the right side. Left arm reaches. And let's make your way back to the center. Bring both knees into the chest. Wrap your arms around those shins or those thighs. Bring yourself into a nice tiny shape. And then inhale, open up yourself. Bring those heels to the corners of the mats and open up your arms nice and wide for your last posture, Shavasana. And once you're in your Shavasana, take a moment to just relax. Soften everything, basically from the head all the way down to the toes, if you can expand your awareness into those areas. Once you're relaxed and have found stillness, just allow your breath to be natural and take this moment to just observe yourself for like the next 10 minutes or so. As always, thank you for joining me, and honor your inner strength and wisdom, peace and gratitude. Namaste. Thank you.